My name is NonStopAntonio, and we're going to be talking about episode 6 of Superman and Lois season 3 because it's finally back after it took a short break from airing. This episode was absolutely fantastic. I love what Tyler and Bitsy do in this show, and they perform Lois and Clark so freaking well. So let's jump into my episode breakdown and review of Superman and Lois episode 6. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. So like I said, this is another absolutely fantastic episode with amazing acting from Tyler and Bitsy. Whenever the two do emotional scenes together, they just pulled off so freaking well, showing them feeling powerless and hurt, and the show does a great job as seeing Superman as human, really showing how the Man of Steel has fears. He's not completely fearless, and he does worry about a lot of things. And he's scared, especially for his family. I love the moments in this episode showing Clark at his weakness, feeling vulnerable, and being really worried about Jordan and Lois, but because he can't do anything for Lois, he's putting all his protectiveness into Jordan because he's scared. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to send his son off to be a hero because he's worried his son will get hurt. But his wife has a possibility of dying. He's so worried about that as well. And I like how they did it where his worst fears came to life, where it looks like Jordan's gonna die, which makes Superman realize that he needs help. He needs to talk to people because he's so powerless to help Lois that he doesn't know what to do with his emotions. And I think everything Tyler did this episode was done fantastically, and I love seeing it. And I'm really liking the cancer storyline too because of the reasons I just stated. It's so emotional to watch Superman feel human and feel powerless to save his wife. And I love what they're doing with this show. And again, the acting is phenomenal. This episode also highlighted that the new actor for Jonathan is doing a fantastic job with the character. Now, before we get into the Bruno Mannheim part of this and the Superboy aspect of everything that happened in this episode, let's talk about the Cushing family storyline, because I really like what they're doing. Even though I still don't think we need a Kyle and Chrissy relationship going on during this, I do like how the family dynamic is changing. I like how they really focus on Sophie, the youngest daughter, who feels like she's being forgotten. None of her family has time to spend with her, and they're telling her they're too busy to do anything. And I think this is a direct reference to the show and how we never actually see Sophie. Like, we hear about her. This storyline was really to kind of show us as an audience that, yeah, she's still there, and her not being around is kind of like her being forgotten, and that's why she feels the way she feels. I loved when she ran away, we had Jonathan able to connect with her, because he feels like the outcast of his own family. Because Clark, Jordan, and Lois are all on that superhero side of things, but Jonathan's kind of off on his own because he doesn't have powers, he's not a reporter, and he's kind of just doing his own thing, and he feels left out of the family environment, which I think was really interesting. And again, the new actor is doing a freaking great job playing the character. Now, let's talk about the Superman and Superboy stuff in this episode, because goddamn was it good. I love how Jordan talks about training in the fortress, really trying to get better and better to be Superboy. I mean, we still haven't got the name drop yet, but it's coming. It 100% is coming before the end of the season. I mean, it has to, right? And I love how he talks about he was fighting this Kryptonian martial arts lady. I tried figuring out what that meant and who that was. Couldn't figure it out. So if you know who a Kryptonian martial arts woman is, let me know down in the comments. But I love how Clark is this overprotective parent. He's worried about Jordan. He doesn't want him going out to do superhero stuff by himself because he's scared his son could get hurt or killed. And he's doing everything to stop him from doing that. But Jordan goes out to save people from a flash flood anyways because Lois says it was okay. But when Clark gets home, he is mad because he doesn't want his son doing that, because what if something bad happened? And that's all he can think about because he can't do anything to protect Lois, so he's trying to be super overprotective of Jordan. Then we go back to the fortress so Clark can test him, and we get 3 new hologram characters for Jordan to fight. The first one we see for like a very brief instant is named Vartox, and in the comics, he was the champion of Valeron, a planet in the Sombrero Galaxy, who first appeared in Superman number 281 in 1974. Then we have another one, Equus. No idea if I pronounced that right, but it's Equus, and he's a cyborg mercenary. He's had his run-ins with Superman in the past. He first appeared in 2004, Superman number 204. I also read it said 206 on another site, so I don't know which dates are correct. But we get some cool actions with Jordan training he versus Atomic Skull and Bizarro. Superman has a Bizarro holographic to fight, which I think is really freaking awesome. And I love how Jordan was showing off his new skills, and you know how he's learned so much because he's actually doing a pretty good job fighting those holograms. Also, it turns out that it's been a month since the last episode, and Deadline is dying because he's in prison without the serum that Bruno Mannheim has been injecting him with, which I love how Superman tries to save him because this guy's gonna die, so Superman's gonna do whatever he can to make sure someone doesn't die. And I love how he brings him straight to Bruno. And Bruno Mannheim just act like he doesn't know anything, which we all know he does because Deadline literally gave him up. He's gonna act like he doesn't know anything because he's staying away from that to prove that he's innocent. And I like how we find out as well that Deadline had XK in him and Superman's blood, so showing that Deadline has been experimented on, which I think is gonna be interesting to see what other villains get powers from this. And I like how this also leads to an interesting topic with Lois, because she thinks that Bruno might actually be trying to save people because he's giving them powers, but he's also extending the lives of these terminally ill patients, which I think is an interesting concept, that this villain is technically trying to save people, but he's just doing it in a horrible way. But of course, we got the biggest moment we gotta talk about is Onomatopoeia going after Superman, where she mimics Lois Lane's voice and brings Superman straight into a trap with Intergang goons using kryptonite guns, which was a pretty intense moment. And I think it was interesting how these villains outsmarted Superman, because everyone knows that Lois Lane is Superman's weakness, and they used it against him. And I love how immediately when Lois got home and Jordan was like, oh my god, you're safe, she knew Clark had just run into a trap, so she sends Jordan to go save his father, which we finally get some Superboy action, and he did a good job kicking some of those guys' asses until Onomatopoeia dropped his ass and he got shot with some kryptonite, which was pretty freaking intense because Superman lost his shit. You know, you see your son get shot and you're gonna get mad. Just imagine if Superman didn't hold back and cut that guy in half, and then he launched Onomatopoeia across the goddamn room. Like I said earlier in this video, Superman's biggest fear is losing his son, and he almost did. But it turns out Jordan doesn't get affected by kryptonite as much as he does because he's half human, which is like the comics. Kryptonite does not affect the half-human, half-Kryptonians as much as it does Superman himself. And even Clark thinks that Jordan could be stronger than him. I'm interested to seeing him give Jordan a little bit more leeway now, help him train a little bit more, maybe give him a proper suit, and show him the ropes of being a proper superhero. Now, to wrap up the episodes, we had one big revelation from it. Onomatopoeia is actually Peia, the cancer patient that Lois and Clark have been talking to for the last couple episodes. And it looks like she might possibly be Bruno's wife, maybe a sister, someone close to him where he really cares about her. And it's gonna be interesting to see how those two characters interact more, because she didn't seem like a bad person, but she is doing bad things with Bruno Mannheim. Which again, it could be the villains doing bad things for good reasons. It doesn't justify what they're doing at all, but it shows that the villains aren't completely evil. And I'm interested to seeing what else happens, because she's dying. She feels like she can no longer keep doing what she's doing. It feels like Onomatopoeia might die this season. And by the end of the episode, we also got Superman finally going to ask for help at therapy, and it's just a nice moment for Clark feeling powerless and asking for help for once, rather than him helping everyone else. But really, this was such a good episode with some cool references to the comics, and then had some cool Superman and Superboy action, and giving us a big revelation for Onomatopoeia. What did you think of this episode? Were there any Easter eggs that I might have missed? And are you excited to see what's to come next? What do you think's gonna happen with Onomatopoeia? And do you think they're gonna bring Bizarro back to life? Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. Check out my other DC breakdowns, Titans and The Flash, as well as Doom Patrol and Stargirl, because those are all live on my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.